Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you today with an article from The Federalist dated May 14th, and it says how the media and Democrats helped create the Israeli genocide lie. Yeah, and this is one of the most pervasive lies about what's happening there. And these idiots, these are useful idiots. Go look up the term if you don't know what it is, but these are useful idiots that just, hey, we're just going to support anything that we're told. So let's go ahead and see what they said here. It says Westerners keep spreading Hamas propaganda. Yes, because they're standing for a terrorist group. So lovely. In late February, the Wall Street Journal reported that Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar sent a message to superiors shacked up in ritzy Qatari hotels, reminding them that high civilian casualties in Gaza would add to the worldwide pressure on Israel to stop the war. Indeed, starting wars and then cowering behind civilians, churning out martyrs, lying about death tolls, and putting on low-budget Hollywood productions for credulous Western audiences is almost as old as Palestinian nationalism itself. If you don't know what Hollywood is, go look it up, and you'll be pleasantly surprised, or even unpleasantly surprised. For over 7 months now, world leaders, American politicians, experts, and many establishment media figures have regurgitated the wholly unverified casualty numbers provided to them by a terror organization. It is a detestable abdication of duty that feeds the delusions of the far-left/Islamic alliance that's infected college campuses, media organizations, and the U.S. government. Namely, it gives credibility to the genocide myth. And yes, it's kind of hard to have a genocide when the population of the place that's supposedly being genocided keeps increasing, but, whatever. Because there are the usual offenders, the United Nations, the Washington Post, the New York Times, MSNBC, and other organs of the left, and I'd say far left. But perhaps for the first time in history, the White House has also given these lies credence. In a Ramadan message to the Islamic world, Joe Biden repeated the fantastical claim that more than 30,000 Palestinians have been killed, most of them civilians, including thousands of children, by Israelis. Samantha Power, now administrator of USAID, made the same claim during National American Heritage last month. American Heritage Month, I meant to say National Arab American Heritage Month. There, got it right on the third try. And I will just stop this to say that there's a video that at the time you hear this that I just recorded previous to this one, but it should be up probably the day before you hear this video that I talk about the United Nations revising their casualty figure. So check that one out as well. But yeah, the UN has updated it, but no reporter at least was like, well, why'd you guys change that? No one really held them accountable. They just changed it and were like, oh, it's because of the fog of war. We got things wrong. That was actually one of their reasons. So yeah, idiots. This is roughly the equivalent of using al-Qaeda propaganda in the middle of the invasion of Afghanistan or repeating Russian information in a Christmas message to Europe. Right. It says last week, the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs dramatically revised casualties, having its child fatality numbers from an imaginary 14,500 deaths to an imaginary 7,797, and its women fatalities from 9,500 deaths to 4,959 deaths. These seem like pretty big discrepancies. Yes. You know why this happens? And here's the kicker for all you far leftists out there that may come across this video. It says, because it is all just made up. And we know this, but you guys, instead of going, maybe we should take what the terrorist group is saying with a grain of salt, you just go, okay, just tell me what I need to say and I will do it. This is why you're useful idiots. There's yet in February when anti-Israel rep Ro Khanna asked Lloyd Austin how many Palestinian women and children have been killed by Israel since October 7th, the Secretary of Defense answered, it's over 25,000. Yeah, and I remember hearing that, and that couldn't have possibly been right at that time, and it was propaganda at that time. So we have the highest levels of our government saying spouting terrorist propaganda in a congressional hearing. So the Pentagon later walked back that insane number, claiming Austin had inadvertently spread unverified stats, which is true. So why would one of the most powerful men in the United States government reflexively give an imaginary death toll as an answer? Why did the president? Why did others in the administration? Because they are trying to create a moral equivalence between Hamas and Israel to placate the left flank for 2024. It's not going to work because the American public, by every single poll possible, supports Israel more than Palestine. So there's that. It says, let's set aside the fact that Palestinian casualty numbers include not only apparitions, but anyone who perishes from natural causes, misfired rockets, old age, or executions and murder. More pertinently, Hamas doesn't distinguish between civilians and armed terrorists. Another interesting point for you leftists out there that you should know. It says, the IDF estimates it has killed around 15,000 terrorists from Hamas and Islamic Jihad. Some of them, believe it or not, are women and children, which is a better civilian-to-combatant ratio in an urban warfare setting than perhaps any in history. And the previous video that I referred to before does go over that, and it is a better ratio. So it says, now you have no reason to be unskeptical about Israel's contentions. All governments will lie. You will notice, however, that only one entity in this conflict is the go-to source for most of the media, and it is not our allies. If you're going to argue that the administration and media were merely relying on statistics that were unavailable, or that were available, I don't know why I said unavailable, because there's no UN there. It says there's a joke about the actual UN in there somewhere. It says they should have known better. The Washington Institute for Near East Policy released a report back in January debunking the Gaza Health Ministry numbers the UN relies on. Another study by 3 professors concluded that the oft-repeated 70% civilian casualty rate was statistically impossible. Is this the... I'm just thinking if this is the link for the one. No, this isn't the link to the video I did probably a couple months ago at this point that went over how the number of deaths in Gaza seems to be going up the exact same percentage every day. And it was just impossible for that to happen. But I'd still go ahead and recommend clicking on this. I'm not going to right now, or checking out my video before. And I apologize. I don't remember when it was, but I think it was from Tablet Mag that had it on there. And that will have the link to that article that went over those casualty numbers. But click on this and you should find it out. But again, it's pretty eye-opening. There's Abraham Weiner, a professor of statistics and data at the Wharton School, also debunked the Gaza Health Ministry's casualty numbers, which were a near-perfect incremental daily uptick, as I was saying a moment ago, despite the vagaries of battle and numerous other factors. This is actually it. This one right here, Tablet Mag. Go ahead and this is it. So don't worry about finding my prior video. I mean, great if you do and you help me out with a view. That's awesome. But if not, just click on this link. This is the article that I was talking about in that video. So it says, Weiner theorizes that the fake daily numbers vary so little because Hamas does not have a clear understanding of the behavior of naturally occurring numbers. Yes, I remember that was, in fact, I was thinking that exact line when I was talking about it before. So yes, this is definitely the article, this one right here. So it says, everyone knows the claims are fake. Remember that it took Israel, a sophisticated nation, weeks to sift through the carnage of October 7th to get a proper tally of the dead. And yet, miraculously, whenever an Israeli attack is carried out, within hours, sometimes minutes, Hamas determines not only the number of dead, but often their ages and sex, whether or not they were civilians. Yeah, little difficult there to do that. And this also, I should say, is another thing for you leftists out there to understand, which I'm not expecting that you will, is don't get me wrong, Hamas wants more dead women and children. Correct. If it didn't, the group would unconditionally surrender and turn the men they kidnapped and women they sexually tortured. That would lead to an immediate cessation of violence. If Israel were in the business of genocide, as so many ignoramuses contend, it would have carpet bombed the place rather than providing it water, electricity, and agricultural equipment for many years. But tragically, it is impossible to upend the terror apparatus without some civilian casualties. Hamas is counting on it, and it's also counting on Westerners, now including this administration, to help spread its lies. Yeah, it's 100% correct. And another thing to point out, if they are doing a genocide, their genocide is so bad that the population of Gaza keeps increasing, and the place that's doing the genocide keeps providing, there's water, electricity, and agricultural equipment. Yes, they're trying to help them survive, but they're committing a genocide. Sure. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Like, share, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.